It is a great pleasure for me to welcome our next speaker for today. She is one of my best friends ever since we were very little. She is an NHS, street smarts, and is a class officer. Today she will be talking to us about how perspective is reality. Please help me welcome Karla Allerman.
Imagine two people standing at the top of a hill overlooking a city. One person sees the beauty of that city. The other sees the underlying chaos of it. Are either of them wrong? No, not necessarily. Both are looking at the exact same thing, but their perspectives are different. Their unique perspective is their reality. Sometimes our perspective may not be healthy and it'll need to change. Once it does change, our reality will be improved. It's an unfortunate reality that we as humans are very tough on ourselves. We tell ourselves we're stupid if we didn't get the test score we wanted. We tell ourselves we're inadequate if we made a couple of blunders in a game. We tell ourselves we're unattractive if we have too big of a nose or too thin arms. We sell ourselves really short. As we build on these types of thoughts on a daily basis, our perspective of ourselves becomes morphed into this gigantic, murky mess. When we see ourselves like this, it becomes our reality. Before we know it, we hate ourselves as a result of the perspective we've gotten so good at seeing. Physical self-image is one of the biggest problems for teenagers. I'm sure at some point we've all passed by a mirror or a reflective window, saw ourselves and thought, wow, I look like garbage, or something negative along those lines. Letting these thoughts take a toll on our lives can make us extremely unhappy. According to Leigh Bell, an accomplished writer for Eating Disorder Hope, people with eating disorders have a medically distorted perspective of themselves. According to the National State of Self-Esteem, 7 in 10 girls believe that they aren't good looking enough and don't measure up to society's standards. The sexiest person alive to you may believe that he or she is way too fat or too skinny. You may believe that you're worthless and unintelligent, while others' perspective of you is that you're valuable and extremely intelligent. Remember, perspective is reality. Before junior year, I didn't believe I was exceptionally beautiful. I didn't believe I was outstandingly brilliant. I thought I was an okay person. That changed. As time went on, I started to have more and more negative thoughts about myself. If I saw myself in the mirror and I didn't like something, it ruined my day. If I couldn't keep up with the math lesson in Miss Mumper's class, I thought I was the stupidest person in the world. It really took a toll on my life and I became a really negative person. I remember one day I realized and I thought, I'm a 16-year-old girl who believes she's unintelligent and unattractive. How pathetically typical. It really bothered me that that was my situation because I hated that I was being a teenage girl with typical teenage problems. Now I realize that that isn't the case. I realize now that physical self-image is important. How we see ourselves does affect how we live on a daily basis. How we see ourselves should be a positive aspect in our life. My perspective of myself changed for the better when I started to use a technique. It's a simple solution, among others, that'll help you change your perspective of yourself. The way to do this is by creating an external character in your mind. That annoying, self-hating voice that always gets you down is called the critic. Trying to overcome your own thoughts in your mind is very daunting. Personifying the critic facilitates overcoming the negative thoughts that may creep in on a daily basis. There are 3 rules when it comes to deciding who that critic character will be. The first rule is that it can't be Satan or any supernatural entity. Rule number 2 is that it can't be your mom or any relative. The last rule is that the critic has to be pathetic. For example, the critic character for you can be Barney. It can be a talking stick. It can be a smelly hobo. It can even be a rock. It's completely up to you. The next time you see yourself and think anything like, I'm pathetic, I'm worthless, I'm unattractive, I'm unintelligent, I'm not good enough, imagine that it's Barney telling you that, and trust me, with practice, it'll get easier and easier for you to sort of brush away those thoughts and continue with your day. Our perspective may not always be very healthy, but as you now know, it can be changed. You will be able to see yourself differently. You will be able to challenge the negative thoughts. Once that happens, your reality will only get better.